told her to come back. Alright, party people. Loved ones, let's liven up. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for hitting that like. Thank you, big nephew, from there. Appreciate that. LB in the place to be. Good to see you. Let's do this like Brutus. That's right. Peace, Kai. Sister Kai, good to see you.
I need your strength and protection.
Now, Sister Tanya, did you get the message I had sent you? I wanted to show what the nephews and niece had asked me concerning Pythagoras. But it's on my phone. I'm using the phone to... I tried to send it to my email. It didn't transfer, so I was going to record it and then play it back, but I wanted to repeat the questions so that they would be heard clearly. But I'm going to do that on next week. You be sure and have them to watch. I'm going to try to get on early so that they can check it out. And I want to show them next week. But in line with what they had asked, let me look at this. We'll look at this for a little bit, as long as we're able. Okay, let's check this out. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Remind me if you can, Grace Fuller. Didn't you say that this is Grace's son, right? So I don't keep referring to you as your mom. Do I have that right? Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. Oh, okay. Okay. It just felt weird because I knew that wasn't right. I felt like I was in a Hermetic theater myself. Double-minded man. Okay, so let's look at this and then remind me, and we'll look at that because I find it to be quite dubious. I'd like to see that. So please do remind me. And peace and blessings to you for all eyes to see, in case I missed you. And 7th Ward Creole, if I didn't speak to you too. Peace and blessings to you. Okay? All right. Chocolate E, let's ride. Peace and blessings. Okay, let's check this out. This is interesting. Okay, I got you. Well, I'll say Grace's son. All right. Okay, and I appreciate folks that are gonna stick around a little bit longer. I ain't gonna hold you very long, honestly. And I really intend to let y'all kind of guide this one. Peace and blessings to you, Sean DeMo. Okay, after we look at this, if we can. Trust me, if you've never seen this before, this is gonna rock your knot. It makes sense. It makes sense, Fanuvi. Sister Fanuvi, it makes sense.
That is strange. That's an odd-looking creature. What kind of a crazy place is this?
Okay. Let's see. We shall see, Sister Nikisha. We shall see.
Now what are you? Scoundrels!
Keep your peepers peeping, Brother Jonathan G. You're going to have plenty to see.
I is equal to 3.1415926535897447, etc., etc., etc.
Huh? Hello? Hello?
Hello, Donald.
That's me. Where am I?
Mathemagic Land.
Mathematic land? Never heard of it.
It's the
The voice speaking to him is officially called Mr. Spirit. Pay attention. He's in Mathemagic Land.
land of great adventure.
Now who are you?
I'm a spirit, the true spirit of adventure.
That's for me. What's next?
A journey through the wonderland of mathematics.
Mathematics? That's for all kids.
Eggheads. Now hold on, Donald. You like music, don't you?
Yeah?
Well, without eggheads, there would be no music. Come on. Let's go to ancient Greece, to the time of Pythagoras, the master egghead of them all,
Pythagoras?
the father of mathematics and music.
Mathematics and music?
Ah, you'll find mathematics in the darndest places. Watch. First, we'll need a string. Stretch it good and tight. Plunk it. Now divide in half. Plunk again. You see? It's the same tone, one octave higher. Now divide the next section. And the next. Pythagoras discovered the octave had a ratio of 2 to 1. With simple fractions, he got this.
Yes, I vaguely remember seeing this as a child, but not with the eyes that I have now. And that's why we're looking at it again.
And from this harmony in numbers developed the musical scale of today.
By God, you do find mathematics in the darndest places.
You can imagine how excited Pythagoras was when he shared his findings with his pals, a fraternity of eggheads, known as the Pythagoreans.
They used to meet in secret to discuss their mathematical discoveries.
Check out how the secret society part is portrayed for children. They used to meet in secret to talk about their mathematical discoveries.
Only members were allowed to attend. They had a secret emblem, the pentagram.
What? Uh-oh. The pentagram.
Let's see what the topic is for today.
What's going on?
Great
It's a
observations.
jam session.
Give me something with a beat.
Shh.
Ain't it? Donald Duck came in with the drums.
So from these eggheads, the Pythagoreans, with their mathematical formula, came the basis of our music of today.
Peace, Brother Wilhelmus. It looks like his sister's in it. Looks like it. The fallen angels should get the credit.
The shadow boy put it out. Well, I'll be a frustrated fan.
It was our old friend Pythagoras who discovered that the pentagram was full of mathemagic.
Uh,
The two shorter lines combined exactly equal the third. And this line shows the magic proportions of the famous golden section. The second and third lines exactly equal the fourth. Once again, we have the golden section. But this is only the beginning. Hidden within the pentagram is a secret for creating a golden rectangle, which the Greeks admired for its beautiful proportions and magic qualities. The star contains the golden rectangle many times over.
good observation, Princess. There's your pentagon. Pentagon.
It's a most remarkable shape. It can mathematically reproduce itself indefinitely.
True indeed. They're talking
All
about
these rectangles have exactly the same proportions.
that's because their knowledge is masonic. Melody's child.
This figure also contains a magic spiral that repeats the proportions of the golden section into infinity. To the Greeks, the golden rectangle represented a mathematical law of beauty.
Good observation, Brother
We
Johnson.
find it in their classical architecture. The Parthenon, perhaps one of the most famous of early Greek buildings, contains many golden rectangles.
That's right, the Fibonacci sequence. That's right, King of Kong, the golden ratio. That's right. Grace's son, the number 8. The pillars, correct. Saturn's cube, correct.
These same golden proportions are also found in their sculpture. In the centuries that followed, the golden rectangle dominated the idea of beauty in architecture throughout the Western world. The Cathedral of Notre Dame is an outstanding example. The Renaissance painters knew this secret well.
Amen, Brother Wilhelm.
Today, the golden rectangle is very much a part of our modern world.
Right, side eye.
Modern painters have rediscovered the magic of these proportions. Indeed, this ideal proportion is to be found in life itself.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is mathematics. I like mathematical figures like that.
Donald.
Get me quiet.
No,
Ideal proportion.
not quite. No, I'm afraid not. Well, we can't all be mathematically perfect.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, I do like to do it.
Another.
Now that you're all pent up in a pentagon, let's see how nature uses this same mathematical form. The petunia. The star jasmine. The starfish. wax flower. There are literally thousands of members in good standing in nature's Pythagorean Society of the Star. All nature's works have a mathematical logic, and her patterns are limitless.
That's right, Cat.
The magic proportions of the golden section are often found in the spirals of nature's designs. The profusion of mathematical forms brings to mind the words of Pythagoras. Everything is arranged according to number and mathematical shape. Yes, there is mathematics in music, in art, in just about everything. And as the Greeks had guessed, the rules are always the same.
Amen. That's right, beyond blessed. That's right, Dawes. Very well put. That's right, Princess. Seeking ways to open portals and
Well,
doorways.
now, did you enjoy your geometrical journey?
Gee, Mr. Spirit, guess I got more to mathematics than 2 times 2.
That's right, Donald. And you can find mathematics in games, too.
Games? Oh boy.
Let's begin with a game that's played on squares.
Checkers?
No, chess.
Chess?
A mathematical contest between two minds. It's a game that has been enjoyed for centuries by kings and commoners. In fact, Lewis Carroll, a famous mathematician with a literary
Look at all the
mind,
symbolism.
used chess as a setting for his classic tale, Through the Looking Glass.
He showed the web.
Alice found herself face to face with
Donald
a
in a
none
dress.
too friendly group of chess pieces.
Good heavens, what's this?
Upon my soul, it appears to be a lost pawn.
I'm no pawn. I'm Donald Duck.
He says he's Donald Duck.
Preposterous.
Or it could be an Alice.
Alice?
No. It's a lost pawn.
Lost pawn? Stop that pawn!
Ow, Mr. Spirit. Ow, ow, ow. Phew, that was close.
Now you can look at this game from a safer perspective.
Right.
Chess is a game of calculated strategy, and since the board is geometrical, the moves are mathematical.
He had to do the dress ritual. That's right, the grand chessboard.
Checkmate, and the game is over.
That's very interesting.
Some kind of hallucinogen,
What's next?
Brother Johnson G.
Practically all games are played on geometrical
Look at
areas.
his eyes.
The baseball field is a diamond.
Oh boy.
And without mathematics, we couldn't even keep score.
Absolutely, Cat.
Football is played
That's right,
on a
Mike Jr.
rectangle divided by yard lines. Basketball is a game of circles, spheres, and rectangles.
It was new
Even
and different.
hopscotch has its multiple squares.
It was new, Melody's Child. It was like special effects nowadays, CGI. So it fascinated people.
What's next? Get any rates?
No. A mathematical game played on a field of 2 perfect squares, using 3 perfect spheres,
Right on, right
and a
on.
lot of diamonds. In other words, billiards.
Oh boy, that's for me.
You know the game, don't you, Donald?
Of course. The cue ball has to hit the other 2 balls. Like this.
Now let's see how an expert at 3-cushion billiards uses his head.
3 cushion?
Yes, the cue ball not only has to hit both the other balls, but it must contact at least 3 cushions before it hits the final ball.
Yes, moving weight. Right on. Well, we don't want credit for what the fallen angels taught the Egyptians. They can have it. The fallen taught the Egyptians.
One, two, three. It takes an expert to make several shots in succession.
Absolutely. Catering to the audience, Shondamo.
3, 4, 5, 6.
Absolutely.
Wow. That was not a good shot.
Luck? No, it's skill. For this game, you have to know all the angles.
And here's an angle that we all have to know here. I find this unique. I find it unique, the game that they play with whitewashing. Even like they'll do a double cross or overplay for the underlay type of game with the whitewashing, where they'll whitewash something devilish. Just so you want to claim it, because you can tell they whitewashed it. I don't want no parts of math magic. We know that everything that the Greeks learned, being savages as they were, they learned from those who were civilized. But we have to now, we've been looking at the question as to what is civilization. And it's really indoctrination from the fallen. We now, come to understand that the Anunnaki that the Sumerians described were the fallen, and that these were the ones who taught mankind these perverted arts. They had to be perverted because they taught them. And they could not teach them the sanctified and heavenly form or version. This is, again, where we get the understanding that the adversary is the destroyer, not the creator, and creates Nathan. Can only copy and pervert or distort. Yep. Understand? And yeah, and somebody asked about the 5% nation. The 5% nation, just like the Moorish Temple brothers, okay, the brothers under Clarence 13X and the brothers under Noble Drew Ali are both under Masonry, whether they know it or not. Same way a lot of folks who belong to certain gangs are under Masonry, whether they know it or not. The Gangster Disciple has a heavy Masonic presence because that's a Masonic branch. And if you become a member of the gang, you are by default beholden to the spirits of the order. So you have to be cautious about, want to be so quick, whenever, again, you got to realize you have an enemy that's into the double cross. The adversary is into the double cross. And he would love to isn't that slick, to make you want something because he whitewashed it. But it was devilish in the first place. But he figured if I whitewash it, it'll make you run and gravitate and jump toward it because of offense and pride. Oh, he's clever. That's ours. Get it back. Came straight from the father. Subtle. Slick. That's slick.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's amazing. How does he do it?
That's a bit like baking a cake for a greedy person and lacing that cake with cyanide poisoning. Leaving it somewhere where you know they're going to get it and sneak a piece. That's the level of double crossing, you know, and the diabolical thinking that they use to come up with their ruse. And that was an excellent way to make a people who are starving and hungry for knowledge about who they are and their history and blah, 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 because that was purposely kept back for the same reason, the same overplay for the underlay. So when they grab it, they'll gorge themselves off of it and die from the poison within it. Pride. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eye, pride of life.
First, there's technique. He's striking the cue ball low, so it'll spin backwards.
Amen. Right on, Big Nephew. Right on. On point. Well said. Summarize.
Hitting the ball on the right side will make it hug the rail. These trick shots take a lot of practice.
He missed it.
1, 2, 3.
What's your mathematics about that?
Oh,
Much
this
love,
game
Sister
takes
Kai.
precise calculation.
Glad you stopped
He
by.
figures out each shot in his head. He could play it like this, but it calls for quite a bit of luck. There is a better choice. For this, he uses the diamond markings on the rail as a mathematical guide. First, he figures the natural angle for hitting the object balls. And then he finds that his cue ball
Appreciate
must
you, King
bounce off
Diaz.
the number 3 diamond. Next,
It's
he
old
gets
school.
ready for the shot, and he needs a number for his cue position.
Seventh Ward Creole says this was nominated for an Oscar in 1959 and was shown in schools from then on. So I probably do recall this on like a rainy day or a half day or something where they wouldn't let us go outside, or maybe they just brought us for a special presentation and let us watch it. Interesting. That makes a lot of sense. It's chock full of, everything that they're picking, even the game of pool. I know you've seen Boomerang. The exchange that Martin and Eddie and what's the one from Detroit that's awful Swedish? He's so Swedish people don't like him. Brothers and sisters don't like him. He's so Swedish and boule-ish. David Allen Greer. They having that conversation. Well, one other way to describe that man. Have mercy on my soul. David Allen Greer. He's from here. Went to Cass Tech. But David Allen Greer and Eddie and Martin is all having this conversation about pool. I think it was Martin that was bringing up the racial symbolism behind the colors in pool, behind the green field, like a football field, representing the earth or the territory. Now that flat earth is a thing, wink. But anyway, he said, the green represented the land, the earth. And the black ball was the final ball that you had to get off the earth. And the white ball is used to knock the other colors off of the earth. And, and they use a long pole to do it, in this fixation with the phallus and all of that. Yes, they wasn't jiving. But what a great place to put that in a comedy where it would forever be buried and folks wouldn't even refer to it anymore. That's what it is. Yep.
This calls for a different set of numbers.
Very confusing, isn't it?
Not when you get the hang of it. You see, the cue position is 4. Now a simple subtraction. 3 from 4 is 1. So if he shoots for the first diamond, he should make it. It's called playing the diamond system. Natural angle 2. Q position 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. 2 from 3.5 is 1.5. So, shoot halfway between the first and second diamonds.
Yeah, a lot did go into perfecting the game, and then the game is all based off of sacred geometry, as he was as Mr. Spirit was just demonstrating to us then. The shots and the bank shots, it's all based on sacred geometry. And if you notice, what pool is oftentimes associated with is the hustler. Isn't that interesting? Someone who is able to, by resonance with the spirits in a pool hall, in a bar, in a saloon, this person is able to access the spirits that understand sacred geometry. And oftentimes they're going there to take people's money in order to, to exercise this spirit or to show and prove this spirit's superiority. It's a very unique thing among pool players. This strange understanding of lines and angles. There's really not another game that takes the lines and angles to that degree. Now, you could say certain things about banking a shot and finger rolling, have some aspects of that. Using the box on the backboard, for those who know how to use the box, has some aspects of that, but nothing like pool. It was in a pool room that proof was shot and killed. But I think we've got enough of this right now, and for folks who want to look back at it, this is it, Donald in Math Magic Land. I found it on YouTube. You can find it also. Absolutely, moving weight. Pool is the mastering of how to control the world. And now, before we look at the Roger Morneau, that's what I had meant to do for this second show. I had totally forgotten. Let's look at this cannibal thing. What is this? Cannibal Cafe? What was it called? Fine Young Cannibals Dining Facility. The Cannibal Club. All right. Somebody walked in there with a dispensary card and thought they was going to get a half ounce. I thought it was, cannibal. Oh, my bad, man. All right, Cannibal Club. Get out of here, Maine. No. Specializing in the preparation of human flesh. No. Made lab-created human meat. Yeah, okay. Thank you. That's what they're telling us. Established in 1863. The founders were Richard Francis Burton and Dr. James Hunt, cousins of Jeffrey Jowsfree III. They established one on each coast. And here's Cannibal Club. Whenever a taboo is broken, something good happens, something vitalizing, said the Satanist and occultist Henry Miller. Specializing in the preparation of human meat, Cannibal Club brings the cutting edge of experimental cuisine to the refined palates of LA's cultural elite. Our master chefs hail from around the world for the opportunity to practice their craft free of compromise and unbounded, binding, loosing, and unbounded by convention. Our exclusive clientele includes noted filmmakers, intellectuals, and celebrities who have embraced the Enlightenment ideals of free expression and rationalism. In other words, the belief that man could reach godhood through knowledge and freedom of expression, being himself, doing as thou wilt. On event nights, Avant-garde performance artists, celebrated literary figures, and groundbreaking musicians entertain our guests. At Cannibal Club, we celebrate artistic excellence as the natural and inevitable expression of the unbridled human spirit. Yes, barbecue jowl sandwiches now on sale. Okay. Well, where's the menu or anything else? You see what I mean? This is almost similar. Where's the rest of it? Where's some more? Oh, home, cuisine, events, staff, frequently asked questions. Let's see. Where do you get your specialty meat? Dr. Finkelstein. Okay, this is another overplay for the underlay, Sister Fanuvi. Dr. Finkelstein was fake as a $4 bill, but what he was saying was real. That's another way they do the duality play. With Dr. Finkelstein or Finkelbein or whatever his name was, the obvious impersonating, the obvious impersonator, someone trying to impersonate a classic Jewish accent and voice, an East Coast Jewish accent. Eddie Murphy did better in the barbershop scene, okay? It's so blatantly, but see, they do that so that it can be dismissed by anyone with keen enough ears to catch this, just like I caught it. So, oh man, this sounds fake. And then they're going to throw out the information. But what he said was absolutely true. Okay, frequently asked questions. Right, they're going to get their shaking disease. Amen. Yeah. Hit them upside the head with the Book of Eli and make them stop shaking. What does human flesh taste like? Frequently asked questions. When prepared by us, unbelievable. Of the meats you are likely to find in stores, pork is the closest match. I've heard it was the sweetest meat. I remember my father told me that. Where do you get your specialty meat? I don't know how he knew. Don't want to know. Where do you get your specialty meat? Our avenues of procurement vary. In other words, we ain't going to tell you how we get this human meat. But see, this is just the come on. Okay, let's see. Most of the businesses and institutions who supply us prefer to keep those relationships discreet. This would be against the law. You would have to give up where you're getting the meat from. So that's what I'm saying. This is something about this here. On the, again, we know the law is in the internet too, but I'm just saying, why is this out here in the public eye? For them to say things like that. To keep those relationships discreet, that's a dead giveaway. On the individual level, bodies are often bequeathed to us. Excuse me. For some, this is a way to supplement life insurance and offset funerary expenses. For others, such as Cannibal Club member Gwendolyn Finwich, who was served to her friends and relatives at the club in January of 2008, being prepared as a meal, and thereby reborn into the bodies of the living. To some, it is an attractive alternative to the more traditional practices of burial and cremation. They should have no typos in something of this magnitude. Is an attractive alternative to the traditional practices, to the more, shouldn't be a the there, to the more traditional practices of burial and cremation. Yep, eating human meat and getting the shakes causes you to forget how to spell. We take considerable care to ensure, forgot to put sentences in proper context. We take considerable care to ensure that all our meat is produced legally and ethically and derived only from young, healthy bodies, except for member Gwendolyn Finwich, who was a lady of all of 80 years or so. We especially loved the way that they prepared her jowls with special lemon pepper seasoning. Says, isn't cannibalism wrong? Cannibalism, as traditionally practiced, usually shows respect to the deceased who is desired to be reborn into the living until they go and do number 2. Or offered as a worthy sacrifice to some deity. Yes. It is never our practice to debase or objectify human life. Arguments against cannibalism are typically grounded in ignorance, cultural prejudice, and nonsensical spiritual beliefs. Doesn't cannibalism cause disease? Yeah, they give you the shakes. They give you the heebie-jeebies. It says, prion diseases of the nervous system, such as kuru, are associated with the consumption of brain tissue, which is not part of our menu. Oh. Dr. Lecter preferred kuru. What is your address? I want to visit. Introduce yourself through our contact page and we will send you information about our membership process. It is necessary for us to operate privately and to vet our members in order to avoid disruption from the less enlightened. Well, now, let's look at the contact page. I may want to contact them. Let's see what sort of information they require. My name, my email, my organization, type of inquiry, and message. That's all they're asking for, huh? Interesting. Okay, that's what they require. Very interesting, Grace's son. Well, there's a new one on me. And the initials are CC for 33. Very good. Very good. Sister Nikki said, don't come up missing, Brother Theo. I'll be fed about a party of 20. Special imported meat here from the Michigan farms. Yep, that's terrible. No degrees, no flesh for these. That's right, Brother Jonathan. That's what it is. That's why they want to know that you're a man of means. Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's that. All right, let's look at a little taste of a trip into the supernatural. Excellent, Grace's son. Thank you for sharing that. Terrible. In my Charles Barkley voice. Oh, man. That was just terrible. Oh, my goodness. Oh, Lord, have mercy. I'll never see baby back ribs again. It's not funny no more. Thank you, Grace's son, for ruining a pretty good joke. All right. Through with that. Yeah. If I need some Listerine. Sister Vanette, you got some Listerine in your purse? Have mercy, I need to take a swig. This is bad. Okay, let's look at this. Let's look at a little bit of Roger Morneau. I want to intrigue you, and you'll watch it on your own. Terrible, right? Oh, boy, y'all are silly people. Okay. I got Soylent Green, the movie. It's people in the Soylent Green! Let me do my Charlton Heston impersonation. Damn you! It's people in the Soylent Green! Colby? Wasn't that something, Colby Lynn? Have mercy. That is terrible. Terrible. Whew. We read about the Cave of Treasures. I got a video on it. But let's get to this long video here, which I'm only going to play. We'll be at 51 minutes here. Maybe I'll just play the first 30 minutes of it, perhaps. They made a product called Soylent. You know, they really are playing off of these young people, man. I can't believe. How can you make a product called Soylent after that movie is known for what it's known for? Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, hold on. Let's look at that real fast. Adolf Hitler, the greatest story. No, not that one. Hold it. Soylent. Really? Soylent Green is people. Interesting. Soylent drink. Get the heck out of here. Rather, it is maltodextrin, oat powder, whey isolate, grapeseed oil, potassium gluconate, salt, magnesium gluconate, and monosodium phosphate. Soylent blog. What's in Soylent? People! Punky! Oh, Lord have mercy. This world, our people do perish for lack of knowledge. Even some knowledge of pop culture look like to me. Who would ever? They got Soylent.com, Soylent drink, original details. Okay, let's see. I don't like the packaging. It's disturbing. It's disturbing. When you've got too much on your plate, try a meal in a bottle. Each 14-ounce Soylent drink provides 20% of your daily nutritional requirements and 400 calories. Available in original and cacao. $37.05 to be, okay, for a monthly bill. How much they send you? 12 bottles. 12 bottles for $37. Yep. They got white meat and dark meat. Which one you prefer? Which one you want? Which one you want? All right. I'm through. Whew. People in the bottle. All right. Let's end like this. Man.
Told me, hey, I got something fantastic to tell you. He said, I am affiliated with people that speak with the spirits of the dead. How would you like to talk to the spirit of your dead mother? And I was shocked. I was shocked. He said, you wouldn't be afraid of talking to the spirit of your dead mother, would you? Well, I said, I'll tell you what, I would have to give that some thought, because it's something I never thought about before in my life.
Heart Research Center presents A Trip into the Supernatural with best-selling author Roger Morneau. While still a young man in the city of Montreal, Roger Morneau became involved in the worship of demons. In this two-part series, Roger gives us a first-hand account of his harrowing brush with the powers of darkness.
Okay, Sister Fanuvi asked, is he fake? I think that what makes this such a well-traveled video is the sincerity and the genuine manner that he delivers his story in. All I said was, he's a Seventh-day Adventist. And I don't know what else he did after this, but I know he does have other videos. So I can't vouch for any of that. But I can vouch for this story. This story matches up with what I know from my personal experience and from testimonies from those who have actually taken the oath.
And ultimately, his divine rescue. Also joining him are Cyril and Cynthia Grossi, the very couple who first pointed Roger from the darkness to the light.
So we're only going to watch a portion of it. And again, unlike what folks was doing when I was showing you when I was showing you Y'all didn't do it so much with Dr. Bree Keaton, but when I showed Dr. Walter Veith, folks was looking at the hands and trying to figure out. He looked like he even listened to the testimony and test the spirit by the spirit. I wouldn't be watching it if it wasn't something you could get. It would be very beneficial if you can focus and receive it. Trust and believe it.
Conducting this exclusive interview are Dan and Karen Houghton of Heart Research Center. Let's now join the Houghtons and Roger Morneau as we together enter part 1 of a trip into the supernatural.
This is a true story.
How in the world did you ever get involved in praying to demon spirits?
Well, when I came out of the Navy after World War II, I was looking for take up a trade.
Okay, ladies, so I think about the same about Bill Schnoebelen. Just about the same. There's some things that you can learn from him. Perhaps we'll show one of his that I find useful in teaching. There's one of his, a Prophecy Club presentation. But this, again, this is like no other. This is a great tale of how you just start off as a young man in this world. In his case, he had just left the military, and he's trying to find his way. And he ends up stumbling into the Brotherhood. So, let's check it out. That's right. Thank you, Brother Reg. Eat the meat, spit out the bones. Right on. Amen.
In Montreal, Canada. And at that time, I ran across a fellow that had been on a particular ship with me. And he said, "Hey, Mono, you're alive. How nice to meet you." He said, "Let's have dinner tonight." I said to my boss, "Can I have the evening off?" Because I was the assistant to the Windsor bowling alleys and Billiards. It's the high-class place in Montreal where all the dress manufacturing people go and relax. So I got the evening off, and I went out. We went out and had dinner. He told me, "Hey, I got something fantastic to tell you."
Check it out.
He said, "I am affiliated with people that speak with the spirits of the dead.
Now,
How would you like to talk to the spirit of your dead mother?"
okay, now he's with an old military buddy, and his buddy has already joined a group of spiritualists or a group that's into spiritism and seances. And that's how it begins for him. His buddy that he hadn't seen in years in the military kind of dares him, kind of tests his manhood. Says, "Oh man, you're not the same brave guy that I knew you to be in the military. Now you acting all scared about some spirits." And that's what made him say, "Well, you know what? Bump it. I'll check it out." Worst mistake of his life.
And I was shocked. I was shocked. He said, "You wouldn't be afraid of talking to the spirit of your dead mother, would you?" Well, I said, "I'll tell you what, I would have to give that some thought. That's something I never thought about before in my life."
Most of us probably haven't. A little afraid of something like that.
Well, he says, you know, it's written all over your face. You're afraid of going to a seance. But he says, "I know you. You're going to come." And then he started telling me how brave I was when I was aboard ship, different things. He says, "You're not the same man. You've changed. You're chicken." That's all I needed to hear.
That's
I
right,
said,
brother.
"When do we go to a seance?" So one Saturday evening, we were in the place. It was the very first time. Very beautiful place. The medium was a lady. She had a gorgeous new home in Montreal. And there were about 20 invited guests there, which I was one of them. And she communicated with the spirits for there's different people there, and telling them what the spirit said. And then there was one lady that had been talking almost continually before the seance started, and she didn't believe in the dead appearing and all of this and all that, and she said, well, I would have to see my dead sister, she says, to believe it. So while the seance was going, one man said, I would like to talk to my friend that died 6 months ago, but I don't want him to appear. Just want to talk to him, because he says, I don't trust you talking to my friend for me. So the medium says, let me inquire of the spirit. Yeah, the spirit will talk with you. And that big masculine voice was heard in the place. It says, hi, Frank. It's nice of you to ask for me to talk with you. And they had a little chat. And after it was over, Frank says, this is the greatest thing on earth, to be able to talk with the spirits of the dead. Then the medium said, we have a very special surprise tonight.
Check it out.
People. A spirit will manifest itself openly here in a few minutes. And it's like a big gust of wind hit the building and right through the wall. Now, the lights weren't terribly bright, but they were like living room lights. A couple of floor lamps, and maybe some of these. And that translucent being seemed to come right out of the wall.
How did you feel right at that moment?
It's almost like my heart stopped a little bit. Very weird feeling. So it was a lady in a beautiful evening gown, swirling. And she said to Mary, my dear sister, you are so wonderful to have asked for me. And Mary fainted and fell right off her chair on the floor.
Now, Mary said that she wouldn't believe it unless she saw a manifestation of her sister, and that's exactly what devils provided her with. Someone had asked on a prior live stream about the gender of devils, what folks would call demons. They have no need for it because they don't procreate, so they can imitate either one.
And a couple of guys jumped up and picked her up, and spirit gone. And that was the beginning of it.
That's how you got into it.
Yeah, that's the way I got into it. After a while, you see, there's something interesting about the human mind. You can adjust an awful lot
Listen
of
to
stuff.
his story. You can't discern
a lot of
those things
things
yet.
that would terrify you to begin with. After a while, they become common and ordinary.
So you mean contact with the supernatural can become commonplace and ordinary and doesn't bother anybody?
Yeah.
In other words, the more that you do it, you're not uncomfortable.
That's right.
It's just not an uneasy feeling.
Yeah.
So how did you feel about it?
Then I got into a secret society that worshiped the spirits, you see.
Well, now, how is that different from the seance, Roger?
Check it out.
It happens that the seance are not involving in any ways. But when you get into a secret society of spirit worshippers, then, and especially when you're invited there by the direction of the higher-ups in the spirit world, you never get out of there alive. And this is exactly what my friend and I were up against. We didn't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm. So true,
And
Sister Stella.
there was a very, very popular big band leader.
Jazz
band.
musician.
Yeah.
Okay, now, he's going to go to dinner with a big popular jazz band leader. And that jazz band leader is going to take him to the next level from going to seances. Matter of fact, the jazz band leader is going to make mockery of the fact that he goes to these seances, although he met the jazz band leader at one of these seances. The jazz band leader says, I only go because of my wife. She likes this type of foolishness. If you want real power, I'll turn you on to what's really popping. And that's how it starts. A jazz band leader who he didn't name. He didn't name the jazz band leader.
Very famous played a lot in Montreal, Canada, Vancouver, the big cities. And one night we went to one of these seances, and he was with his wife. Now the spirit had told him what to do. Spirit told him, there's two of these guys, give the names, and your wife will want to talk, we'll make it so that your wife will want to talk to the medium when you say that you want to go home because you're tired. As soon as you see that these guys are starting to want to leave, then leave with them at the same time. And as you get outdoors, you ask them if they're driving. They'll say no, they're going to take the tramway a couple blocks away. Well, you invite them to get in your car with you, and that you will take them to a fancy restaurant and treat them to some good food and talk about the merchant navy. And that's what they did. The guy did. And there we were in this plush restaurant, pulled into a little alley, and I can still see it like it was yesterday. Just enough room to pass the car, back alley, that happened to give on a restaurant that was on St. Catharines Street, which is the main street of Montreal. And it was quite an evening.
So, Roger, you're at this restaurant. What happened?
Well, after we were seated, in entering there, the place was just full, packed tight. But there was a couple of tables against a wall that had a reservation sign on it.
Not yet,
the
Sister Cat.
Owner of the place recognized the band leader and came and said good evening, and you gentlemen want a table, so you're one of the reserve people. So we sat there, and we had our favorite alcoholic beverages, you know. And as we talked, the band leader says, how long have you fellas been involved with sorcery? And he shocked us a little bit, and I said, exactly what do you mean? Well, he said, you know, what you people are doing, talking to the supposed spirits of the dead. He says, this is silly.
And this man had been at the seance with you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And he's telling you that it's silly what you've just done.
Because he...
Notice he said, right, very, very keen observation, Sister Stell. Notice he said what you're doing, talking to the supposed spirits of the dead. He said, it's child's play. It's lightweight jamming. Now, what's heavyweight jamming?
My wife, he says, goes to these seances because she gets comfort and she gets something good out of it, good feeling out of it.
Thank you,
and
moving
she
weight.
lives for what the spirits, are going to see that the future is going to be like. To me, he says, I can't bother with this stuff. He says, I want power. I go right to the source of power. And he says, how do you think that I became famous the way that I am?
I'm going to deal with all emails and unfinished business this week during my time off. But now, I want you to take note of what he just said here. Because it's why people join the secret societies. The bottom line is the power. They join in for power. 1036, take it back to about right here. Okay.
Talking to the supposed spirits of the dead. He says, this is silly.
And this man had been at the seance with you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And he's telling you that it's silly what you've just done.
Because see, my wife, he says, goes to these seances because she gets comfort and she gets something good out of it, good feeling out of it. And she lives for what the spirits, are going to see that the future is going to be like. To me, he says, I can't bother with this stuff.
Hey,
he says,
Tati.
I want power. I go right to the source of power. And he says, how do you think that I became famous the way that I am? Well, I said, you must have had some good luck.
No.
Well, he says, there's no such thing as good luck. He says, there's either some power working for you somewhere, or you don't get ahead in this world. Not in my type of occupation. So it went from there. We got talking about spirit worship.
Did it intrigue you? Or did it make you want to find out more about?
That's worth a run back. Thank you for that, Brother Minister Ronell. Now we're gonna go back a little taste here, just a little taste. If you want power, you go straight to the source of power. There's no luck in this world. You either have some force working for you or you don't. And that is the bottom line. That's the worldview of the Christian mind. And it's also the worldview of the Luciferian kind. Now let's absorb.
Man had been at the seance with you.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And he's telling you that it's silly what you've just done.
Because see, my wife, he says, goes to these seances because she gets comfort and she gets something good out of it, good feeling out of it. And she lives for what the spirits, are going to see that the future is going to be like. To me, he says, I can't bother with this stuff. He says, I want power. I go right to the source of power. And he says, how do you think that I became famous the way that I am? Well, I said, you must have had some good luck. Well, he says, there's no such thing as good luck. He says, there's either some power working for you somewhere, or you don't get ahead in this world. Not in my type of occupation. So it went from there. We got talking about spirit worship.
Did it intrigue you? Or did it make you want to find out more about what exactly he was talking about?
Yeah. So he said the supposed spirits of the dead that you're talking with are demon spirits. They're fallen angels. They're beautiful beings.
Just set it out, just like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
It didn't make you uneasy when he said they were
Well,
demons?
it shocked you a little bit, something that you first hear mentioned to you. He said, you guys have got a great future ahead of you. Because we've been told, the high priest of our society, secret society, has been told that the master has very special plans for you to.
Now, what did he mean by the master?
Satan. And but we're interested to hear more about it.
You're chosen ahead of time. Another mockery of the adversary is the mockery of the elect or the chosen. He has his mock chosen / elect. And he likes to pick from God's field if he can. That's his favorite threshing floor to steal from. He will, preferably seek after those who he knows are either elect or chosen. But they're not sealed vessels. They're not on the proper path. They're not focused. Whatever the case may be. And then right behind that, those who will dedicate themselves to his service and to his agenda. Because it's more important to affront the Father by taking one of his own, quote unquote, if he can, somebody from out of the church or gospel or whatever, than it is to actually establish his own kingdom here on earth. He's much more concerned with disrespecting the Father because he feels he's been burned.
And he told us, he says, look, we worship spirits. We worship Lucifer and all his angels. They're just as beautiful as they did before they were cast out of heaven. He says there was a misunderstanding in the whole thing. He says among the inhabitants of the galaxies. And he says our master was misunderstood. And God did not bear with him like he does with people that make mistakes today. So we're in a warfare, good against evil. And we happen to be the evil ones, but we're not that bad. He says, I look at this business between the force of good and evil. He says, you believe in one person believes in God, and everyone believes in Lucifer. It's like politics.
So the great controversy is real. And you've heard someone talk about it that's on the other side.
And to these people,
That's
they
right.
are sold to the fact that Christ will not return to this planet with power and great glory. He's going to abdicate all claims to the planet. Because
now, it's interesting here when he goes into the spill of what they told them as Luciferians. What they told them was the plan. Now, they lied to their own, or they only tell you as much truth as you need to know to play your part in the structure. You're still a brick at the end of the day. So check that out. And yes, Lucifer always plays that role, Sister Nikisha, of being the misunderstood. Hence, you get songs. He inspires songs like "Sympathy" for the devil, and he inspires poetry to that effect, movie storylines to that same effect. Oh, poor devil. Okay, the Lucifer TV show. You know his goal is to be worshipped at the end of the day, and to twist all the things of the Most High around, to where they're unrecognizable, but most importantly to where it's no longer clear what is God's, what belongs to God. If the devil can make you do all sorts of things to your skin that belong to God, he can do all sorts of things to yourself from within that belongs to God. And that's what he's really out to get: your heart and your mind, the hearts and minds of the people.
The high priest once said that.
Well, okay, now hold on, and then.
And he says, "I will master."
I want to say this real quick too. It's interesting how they were chosen. They were already chosen beforehand, and there was already a plan for them, and so they just kind of stepped into the organization, rank and file, and just kept stepping. This is also a way that Satan likes to play off of certain feelings he's experienced himself. He likes to play off of the feelings that people have when they feel abandoned or isolated or rejected. And so he wants to make them feel as if, well, see here, you have a home, you have a family. See, look, I will accept you in all your weird ways. That's the game. Right on, satanically elected. That's right, SELECTED. It's like Lil Boosie.
By the master.
Satan.
Right on, exploit.
And we're interested to hear more about it. And he told us, he says, look, we worship spirits. We worship Lucifer and all his angels. They're just as beautiful as they did before they were cast out of heaven. He says there was a misunderstanding in the whole thing. He says among the inhabitants of the galaxies. And he says our master was misunderstood. And God did not bear with him like he does with people that make mistakes today. So we're in a warfare, good against evil. And we happen to be the evil ones, but we're not that bad. He says, I looked at this business between the force of good and evil. He says, you believe in one person believes in God, and the other one believes in Lucifer. It's like politics.
So the great controversy is real. And you've heard someone talk about it that's on the other side.
And to these people, they are sold to the fact that Christ will not return to this planet with power and great glory. He's going to abdicate all claims to the planet, because the high priest once said that Christ will abdicate all claims to the planet because he knows that it is lawfully and rightfully Satan's. And at that time, he says, Lucifer, you mentioned Lucifer a lot of times, but he mentions Satan also. He says, the master, usually they like to talk about the master. The master will resurrect his people from the graves.
And George is telling you all this, or the high priest?
George.
Okay, when the evening wound down, and you're putting a cap on all that, you guys had consumed some alcohol.
Yeah.
And did you feel like that there was kind of a one-shot deal? You didn't know if it ever happened again? What happened after that?
He said, no. I said, listen, guys. He said, I like to have you, he says, meet some of our people. What about next week, Wednesday evening? I'll pick you up at your place, and you're invited to one of our services.
Services? Like a church service?
Yeah, something similar like that. It's a testimonial to the spirits, well, how the spirits have blessed your life. So, when we left there, I said to myself, this guy's half drunk. I'm not going to hear from him again, you know. But it was true. Wednesday night came, he was there with his big Lincoln, step in, and we went to one of the most beautiful area of Montreal. And the place was a mansion. A mansion is usually very large. We call this a small mansion. It was beautiful. Most beautiful place.
Roger, your friend George took you and Roland to this mansion where people worshipped the demons.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like there? What kind of people were there?
Well, it was a big surprise for me, as I kind of made up in my mind an idea that they were going to be rough-looking characters. But as we entered the place, I was amazed to see that they were all very well-dressed, well-mannered, and that a lot of the people, as we were being introduced to people, were professionals, doctors, attorneys, a lot of business people. And see what they had a praise session to the gods, which is the spirit counselors, which are in charge of legions of spirits, demon spirits. And they talk about what the Lord of their lives has done for them. Because they call on particular spirits, like the god Nehushtan, which you read in 2 King about. The Israelites worshipped the golden serpent that Moses had made. Well, behind the spirit worship, behind that, they were worshipping the serpent. They were actually worshipping this spirit Nehushtan. And the same spirit Nehushtan is, the priest was telling us, that the medical doctor that was telling us how he was making operations that had never been made before, because people had to be awake, didn't have no feeling. He was able to, carry on the surgeries that had not been done before. But the spirits would give that capacity to be able to operate without people feeling any pain. And also without no problem with the blood, because as he would cut his incisions, everything open with no blood running. So he could do the work that has not been done before. So.
Now, I recall reading in your book that at this praise worship service they had, they would sing hymns. Why would they sing hymns in a demon worship?
Yeah, this was kind of a big surprise to me when that took place. The priest said, hey, let's go down to the worship room of the gods and have a praise session, a singing session. So we go down there, and what did you think they pass around? Church hymnals. Christian church hymnals. And I couldn't believe this. I said, what's this business? So the priest says, well, now, he says, for those of you that are new, let me tell you that this is the most feasible way, he says, to please the spirits, is to deride Christ and his people, and his church and all that. So they sing out of Christian hymnals.
They didn't sing Christian words to the hymns, however.
Well, they changed a lot of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and not for the good.
It's a form of blasphemy. Yeah.
They're still doing it today. They call it inspirational music. And good catch from Moving Weight and Damali. Building off of the spelling spell breakdown. I don't know if they saw where dimension, Father showed me, was demon Zion. And they just recognized that mansion would be man Zion. Excellent. And to the point of the interviewers, they look throwed off. They look throwed off. My man, he's got the Kirk Cameron cut. And she's got the soul glow. vanilla edition. But yet, I don't find any guile in them. They seem familiar with the story because they interviewed the man, obviously, beforehand. Because they're familiar with his story and they know what questions to ask him. That's what I got. Yes, they're acting brand new for the cameras. Very keen, 7th Ward Creole. And you dropped a good one too. Wait a minute, what did you say? You said something there. 7th Ward Creole. Dropped a good one. Then I'm going to start it back. The best people. They're great guys. They're great guys.
Such as you see today in the rock music world, you see the entertainers, they have these crosses. Ladies got earrings, crosses. The guys got a cross. This is a form of blasphemy, a form of deriding Christ. You see, spirits.
I don't think so.
To do that, to find pleasure in wearing this type.
I don't discern that. Watch more of it.
The cross is the emblem of the crucifixion of Christ to the Christians.
So what were your impressions the first time you went down into that worship room?
Well, it was, we'd been there maybe half a dozen times. And the high priest told us after the meeting was over, he wanted to talk to us, my friend and I. So after most people had left, he says, the master of my life has revealed to me that it is time for you people to become acquainted with the worship room of the gods. Well, we started to move toward a beautiful grand staircase. Beautiful. The banister was huge. It was massive. And the wrought iron work that they had done in it was super. The beautiful decorations on the walls. The chandelier on the first landing. So there was the first landing. You go down about 8 or 10 steps and you had the first landing. It was huge and beautiful.
It wasn't always called
The
gospel
lighting
music.
was the nicest I had ever seen in
Matthew,
my life.
Mark, Luke, and John
When we got
is
into
where
this
gospel comes from
sanctuary area,
originally.
it wasn't very brightly lit, but everything was
Don't miss the forest for the trees.
well magnified. The beauty of certain things, like a lot of the things were gold plated or gold trims. See, the little altars where they had the
Slave
spirits
hymns.
that had materialized. They photographed them, and then they had paintings made of them. And there was probably about maybe 100 of those around the place.
Sort of like a shrine.
Yeah, and underneath there was a little altar where you have incense and things that they would use in their.
Please hit that like if you've not done so tonight. But no, but look, always
and,
look. Good to
some of the
look.
objects in there, the priest said were solid gold. It was a unique experience to see that.
You're being
So how
watchful.
did you
That's
feel
good.
when you walked into that room?
But listen to.
I felt that these people had power, and they had a lot of it.
Did that attract you?
Yes and no.
You had mixed feelings
I
about
had
it.
mixed feelings about it. Yeah. Because to a certain extent, things looked so good. It sounded so good to us. But you see, I'd been brought up in a Christian home where my parents had told us we were 8 children in the family, and especially the older ones. My dad says, well, if you get involved in wrongdoing, you're going to have to pay the price. There's always a cost for everything in this world. So this thought kept creeping to my mind. Just how far you go with these spirits before we can start paying the price. See?
So it made you just a little bit nervous.
Oh, yes.
But yet you kept going back.
Oh, there was no way out. Because that's what we're told.
You knew at that time.
Yeah.
So you were moving forward more on fear.
More on fear, yes. Because the high priest said that the master had special plans for us in our lives. And that no one ever went into this society unless they were invited by the spirits. So that was made very clear. And he also explained to us the danger of going against the will of the spirits. And he mentioned about this one man and his wife that live in a fireproof building in Montreal. The place burned right down with him in it.
Mm.
He was one of their members that had decided that, well, he wanted to think things over. He was not going to get initiated at a time that the spirit said he would like him to be initiated into the society.
So in reality, Roger, you were chosen by high-powered demon spirits to be a part of their human, special, privileged group.
You see, these people in Montreal, the society, like the priest mentioned, there's thousands of spirit worshippers, in different societies of spirit worshippers in this world. But he says we are the elite. We know the real truth about the Master and his angels. And they're not hideous-looking beings. They are gorgeous creatures. And from the paintings that they had on the wall of the walls of that worship room, they were unique beings. Especially there was a painting full size, full-length painting of the fallen Lucifer above his altar. And that was very fascinating because he looked like a man of great intellect, high forehead.
They're familiar with his story.
His eyes, the way he had the eyes looking, it gave you a depth of perception of somebody that is very, very knowledgeable and powerful. Yeah.
So, Roger, this high priest that you talked about, he is the one that ushered you down into the worship room. Was he also the one that led out in the praise sessions that you talked about?
Yes, and he had an assistant also, another priest.
Okay. Now, when you would go to these praise sessions, what kinds of things happened at those sessions?
Well, there's a lot of success stories.
Positive mental attitude kinds of things?
Well, yes, there's a lot of success stories.
This is going to trip you out, and my apologies, Sister Vanetta. I said I was going to be sure and pause every time, because this volume is maximum volume, and I'm not speaking at my maximum volume, and I'm still drowning it out. So I will try to be cognizant to pause. I have something to say, but check this out now. Now he's going to tell how when you go to these secret society meetings, they have like a testimonial portion of the meeting where you stand up and you say what Lucifer's done for you, and how he's blessed you and caused your businesses and your endeavors to prosper. He's going to tell that, and it's quite telling if you listen.
The masters has done this for me and that for me. I remember one lumber dealer, he had like half a dozen different operations in parts of Quebec, and everything that he touched seemed to turn to money. And he was telling about it. And then there's this other person that was a clairvoyant that would work only for the wealthy people, only for the super wealthy. He says, I have the know-how, they have the means, let them pay. So he advised in business transactions. They would come to him and say, listen, I look at this deal that I might get, this factory or whatever it is, because this person was interested in industrial real estate, see. And he would talk to the spirit, and then the spirit was audible to him. See, you could hear the spirit talk to him, but the man did not hear. So the spirit was telling him the clairvoyant what he called himself an astrologer, reading the moons and the stars, and
Now, what was the term you used for his title, this man?
Clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant.
Oh, clairvoyant.
Clairvoyant. Yes, and it was interesting. This person stood up and says, I had a nice little experience last week.
Good observation, Sister Lynn.
And he says, the master, he says, they take care of you. This lady and her husband brought him, to this astrologer, a bundle of money. He said, this is the deal that you... And he works at only on percentages.
Check this out. Peace and blessings. Good night to you, Brother Wilhelm. Check out how this astrologer who works for the elite catches another brotherhood member and his wife in a lie because of the spirits that the astrologer was getting information from, told the astrologer that this other brotherhood member and his wife was holding back money that they owed him.
Only a percentage. He doesn't work for set amounts of money. Only percentages of what the people are going to make. So he said they brought me a substantial amount of money. And they were very happy with it, and I thought it was very reasonable.
Listen to his story.
But then my guide, Spirit, says, ask them when they're going to give you the other $1,700 that is really yours. And he says to the folks, I would like to know now, before we leave here, when will you have the $1,700 to give me?
And yes, Sister Estelle, we will look at one of those Marine stories in an upcoming live stream as we continue looking at the spirits and how to defend against them.
That makes up my part of, rightful part of the
Test the spirit
deal.
by the spirit.
The wife fainted, and the husband says, we'll have the money for you in 24 hours. So that was this type of priest.
So he was thanking the demons for helping him to know that.
Oh, yeah. Demon spirits, yeah. And he says to the folks, I would like to know now, before we leave here, when will you have the $1,700 to give me? That makes up my part of, rightful part of the deal. The wife fainted, and the husband says, we'll have the money for you in 24 hours. So that was this type of priest.
So he was thanking the demons for helping him to know that.
Oh, yeah. Demon spirits, yeah.
At what point did this demon worship start to
Right,
affect you
D-Star.
personally, Roger?
Well, it wasn't too long that the priest mentioned to us that the time had arrived for us to start trusting the spirits and give the spirits a chance to work for us. And there was a number of gifts that you could choose from. You see. And I used to play the horses, some. Not knowledgeable at all. I used to go to those bookies, play the horses often, but I said, hey, I would like to be able to, for the spirit to instruct me on the numbers and the name of the horses that's going to win, at Belmont or some other racetracks like that. Make myself a little money. So the priest says it'll be given you. And sure enough, one night whether I fell into a trance or dreamed the thing, I don't know exactly what happened, but I saw 3 races that were really going to pay big. And these horses were dummies, so to speak. You know what I mean? They were not really good horses. They were like the one horse paid 21 to 1 because he was that poor, right? The chance of winning was so poor that he paid 21 to 1 on it. And it showed me that I saw the board and the bouquet and the number on it. And I went there, and they said it was going to be on Saturday. That was like on Wednesday. A few days later, it was Saturday. I went there, and sure enough, there they were on the boards. I went to the wicket and handed some money and got myself a winner. Now I said, well, I'm a little crazy. I ought to put more money on there, so I put $20 onto the next horse, and that paid 21 to 1. So I left there with maybe $400 or $500 in my hands, and I started to do that. In this case, I went directly down to the finest men's shop on St. Catherine Street and bought myself a $200 suit.
And in 1946, a $200 suit was
46 people used to work at the RCA Victor, where I had worked before I went to the Navy for $18 a week. And the good earners were $75 to $50 to $75 per week, for labor.
So the demon spirits looked on you so favorably, they began to help you win in your gambling.
Then I went to other bookies, you see. And one day, I am told of the man in the cage When you do your bed, he says, my boss would like to talk to you. And he said, you go right through that door over there. Oh, sure. So I know the guy says, come on in. The guy's sitting behind the big desk, smoking the big cigar. So he says, you're Roger. He says, yeah. You got up and walk around me. He said, you don't look that smart. I said, what, sir? You don't look that smart. He said that you could pick horses that are winners when they're supposed to be losers. Where do you get your help?
Mm.
What do you mean help? I'm not getting any help. I just happen to go and... Oh, no. We've been watching you here, he says, for a number of weeks. And you always leave here with some of our good money. And I tell you, buddy, if you want a list of all the bookies in Montreal, I'll give you a list of them. But he says, I want you out of here. And don't show up again. Because somebody's going to put a... You know what I mean? I said, okay, sir, I won't be back again. So it's a tough business, being gambling.
So even with the spirit's help, it was tough.
Yeah. Well, it's stuff he's going to shoot you, yes.
Yeah. The high priest would say a number of things to you when you were in these praise services, and you went to a number of them over a period of time. Talked about the issues of the great conflict. You've already touched on that a little bit. I want you to follow up on that a little bit more, Roger. Some of the things that you wrote in your book, Trip into the Supernatural, sounds a whole lot like what we as Christians today know as the Great Controversy.
This video can be found by typing in A Trip into the Supernatural, which is the name of Roger Morneau's book. He's the French-Canadian gentleman who's telling the story to these interviewers who are obviously prepped and prepared, and they are leading him because they are already familiar with what to ask him, as this is a promotional tool for the book, or part of a promotional run for him to be on their show. I don't know if they're brother and sister or if they're married, and I don't find that to be pertinent. However, if you can test the spirit by the spirit and listen and follow conversation, you will glean much. And not that I agree with every assessment that is made by Mr. Morneau, but I do find most of his story to be congruent with what I've already found to be true concerning the secret societies, and with what has been reported to me to be true.
What were some of the things that he told you there?
Well, he says that there is a great controversy going on between the force of good and evil, between Christ and Satan. And they always praise the great master, Satan, as a super intelligent being that he is, beautiful to behold. And if he ever appears to you, you won't be able to look upon him because it'll be too bright. It'll just ruin your vision. The high priest said he was in Chicago, and the spirit appeared to him and said, Morneau and his buddy, George, has invited them to the service, and the fellow that is in charge while you're away said that he's going to wreck all the work that the spirits have done for the last 2 years to get these people into the society. So that...
Thank you, Brother Minister V. Brother Minister V confirms that they are married and they interviewed Win Worley. So stall them out. Listen.
The high priest, which is in Chicago, picks up the phone and calls, and the spirit appeared to him, and he said the spirit was, the angel was so bright that he could not look upon him. And he says after he picked up the phone to dial, he couldn't dial the phone because of the fact that his vision was so terribly blurred by the light, the beautiful light of the bright being. And he asked, dial 0, and the operator came on, and she had to, dial for him. And they talk about many, many things in regards to, who's going to win this conflict.
Any discussion about fire and brimstone?
Yes. He says, the Bible people, talking about the Christians, he read in the Bible that, we're all going to land in a lake of fire and this and that. So that's baloney. He says the conflict is going to end peacefully. Christ is going to realize that you might as well abdicate the rights of this planet, take his few people along with him to his planet in the center of the galaxies, and we will be left with a master who will resurrect all his people that will be as numerous as the sand of the sea. See? And the master will rule forever and ever and ever. A happy people. And he named some of the people that's going to be there. I want to mention the names because they're known to history. Yeah. So that was quite impressive.
Did you always feel, Roger, that these people were telling the truth?
Oh, yes. Yeah. They really had things down straight. But I was not satisfied with the answers. And there was something, and I understand now it was the Spirit of God saying, hold back, fellow. Hold back. And the priest had thought about us thinking seriously about being initiated into the cult.
Right. So they let you come to sort of take a look-see, but you can't go back for several months.
Oh, yeah. It's not a matter of whether you're going to be initiated or not. It's when. You see?
So they begin to press you for a commitment.
So the priest said, look, fellows, I'm not going to pressure you into anything, okay? But I want to show you what the spirits can do for a devoted servant. We went downstairs, not through the staircase that I thought the worship room of the gods, but at the other end of the building. Went downstairs, and a number of times I'd gone there to the men's room, and I heard these typewriters clicking like the dickens. Man, it's going. I said, why do we have a lot of people typing in there?
This is going to trip you out, and we're going to cut this off around the 2-hour mark so we can go into our readings for the night, and I will refer you to how you can watch the rest of it. It's a very long and in-depth interview, 3 hours and something long, which, like I said, has things in it that you can glean from, meat, and then bones that you can throw out on your own time. But I wanted to show you this part up until a particular point so you can kind of see where I glean things from in watching the video and what I throw to the side.
That room. Well, we went there that evening, and he knocked, and the man says, come on in. And there was all those typewriters moving along by themselves, typing at the speed that I'd never seen before. And not only that, the high priest says, I want to show you something clever. So he said, follow me. So we went around the table. There was like two.
Okay, now do you realize what's happening? He goes to the restroom, or he goes by this room often, and he always notices this clicking of typewriters. Well, finally, the guy who is the lawyer in their group or whatever, or the lawyer with the most prominence, he decides to show him what's behind the door. He walks into the room, and all of these typewriters are typing by themselves. And so the guy, full of pride concerning the dark side, says, now let me show you something really, really interesting. And he walks Roger over to the typewriters for a closer look and see what he discovers, if you can hear through his accent.
Long tables, and they had about 10 typewriters. And he says, now notice that the typewriter types to the right, then doesn't go back. It types back to the left. Isn't that something? I had never heard of things like that before. He said the spirits are doing the work. And he introduced us to the man. And the man is a lawyer. And he said, how much money did you make last year? Oh, he says, it's in the 6 figures. See?
So this lawyer had a business in the building that housed the worship room.
Oh, yeah.
And he had a whole room full of typewriters.
Yeah.
And he put paper in there, and demons
That's
typed.
all he did. Put typewriter paper in there.
And what came out? What was it that came out?
Different briefs for court cases.
And so he would sell these to people?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He had this service to the legal profession.
And the high priest was
The
showing...
United States and Canada.
So the high priest was showing you this to give you an idea about the kinds of blessings that you would
That's
receive?
right. Yeah.
But after you left that typewriter, the room where the lawyer was, they tried to draw you into a commitment by getting you to make a public profession. Tell us about that.
Well, they have a super beautiful resort in the Laurentian Mountains, which is north of Montreal, north of Saint-Agathe. Saint-Agathe is a famous name there in Montreal. Montrealers, because they all go Saint-Agathe or north there, you know, to summer home and that. So they had a big resort up there for their people, you know. So it's a closed society. And they had on October the 30th, Halloween, is that
October 31?
31, last day of October. They had what they call live animal sacrifices. I don't know what it is. But they did. We could never find out. By the time that the Lord pulled me out of there, I had not yet found out what it was. So you have this intrigue involved in there. And he talked about three very unique services that I attended there that sit on my mind forever. One was entitled Christian Idolatry. Another one was entitled The Super Deception of a Glorious New Age, which actually applies to the New Age today. And this was 1946, we're talking. And then the other one was Satan's Great General Council of the 1700s. And I must say the things that I heard there was an eye-opener. First of all, we'll go through the Great General Council. Okay. At the beginning of the 1700s, said the high priest, Satan and all his spirit counselors held a Great General Council with one purpose in mind. It was to prepare for the great industrial age that was soon to break upon the world. And Lucifer also foresaw another age that was to follow that, where tremendous scientific discoveries would be made by people, and we would enter a unique age that would change the way that everybody lives. It would also serve to usher in the end times and the close of the great controversy between the forces of good and evil. And the priest said that Lucifer had been studying the Bible, and he found in Daniel 12:4, where we are told about the time of the end, many shall run to and fro, knowledge shall be increased. He understood it to be that we're getting to that point. And he had, with all his spirit counselors, to change their modes of operation in order to ensnare people. And to devise a way whereby people would disqualify themselves from being members of Christ's kingdom.
And he was just very candid about this.
Oh, yeah.
Telling you and the rest of the group, 60 or 70 people there, the plans that
close to 100 people.
Lucifer had revealed to him.
And by the time the council came to a close, they had three major policies that were going to be followed. First, they were to see to it that humans would be made to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist. Because see, up to that time, you could walk down a street of Paris and you would have signs that would say where you have a soothsayer or a fortune teller of some type, and if you want to put a curse on someone, you could go and see this other old lady over there, the old witches. That's the way it goes. But now it had to change. Lucifer says we have to make sure that people, humans, get to believe that Satan and his angels do not really exist.
You know, Roger, that's interesting because a recent research study report that I read indicated that in a national survey, I believe it's over 75% of people do not really believe in a real tangible devil. But there is one.
Oh, yeah. Now, the next thing, the three-parts policy that they had adopted there, the second one was to find a way of being able to get total control of people's minds. And that would be done by taking hypnotism out of the realm of the occult and introduce it as a new science for the benefit of mankind.
So part of what the high priest told you was Satan's strategy to take total control of people's minds.
They felt that by taking hypnotism out of the realm of the occult and introducing it as a new science for the benefit of mankind, they could then use people of great renown, educators, people of capacity, that would do great things, such as supposedly regress people in time to former lives that they had. And of course, after the session is over, the person would not know a thing about ancient history, and the person that she or he has talked about performing, certain deeds, we'll say 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. But this was their strategy. Now, what this would do for the thing is this, that it would create in the minds of the general public, solidly set in the mind of the general public, an unwavering trust in that great deception. In other words, people could, they would believe it. This person was hypnotized, was regressed in time to, former lives, and did this and did that, and no deception. Maybe Alexander the Great, we could say, and some of his generals and people like that. And the person, after the session is over, comes out of hypnotism, and he or she doesn't know what she's talked about. So now this would be a way of de-Christianizing the Western world through the avenue of mysticism. Now the time came when Lucifer decided that he had to choose a person to initiate this thing. And Franz Mesmer, which was an Austrian physician, was chosen. Because
the priest told you all of this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because he was most capable.
Mesmerize.
Mesmer originated a theory called animal magnetism, later on named mesmerism. Mesmer was led by the spirits to believe, and this is what the priest said, was led by the spirits to believe that certain persons have a magnetic influence within themselves, so to speak, that would cause them to have great power over other persons, even to the point of placing them into a trance. And at that time...
That's something that they tell the entertainers, what he just said.
That was readily accepted by people in general at the time that Mesmer lived. So people realized, some people have got a capacity to put you into a trance. Let's do it. Now, by the time that he died, in 1815, a lot of the physicians in Europe were using hypnotism as a means of anesthesia.
Now, hypnotism is the same as mesmerism?
That's right. So mesmerism that's been developed to a higher degree of refinement. And the priest went on saying that the plan of Satan to deceive the human family this way, he says, is the most intriguing thing to his mind. And he went on saying how it was going to be brought about. He said that a fellow by the name of Darwin and another fellow by the name of Thomas Henry Huxley would be used by the spirits because in their childhood they had been hypnotized by medical doctors, and they figured that they would be real good subjects to lead the people into this belief that they had, that Satan wanted to bring into people's lives.
Now, what were those 3 points again, Roger? The 3 things were, number 1, that they did not want Satan did not want the human family to think that he or his angels existed.
Right.
The second point that you made had to do with taking control of people's minds.
That's right.
The third point was what?
Was to destroy the Bible without burning it.
Okay.
See?
And what was his strategy on that?
On that, it was very interesting. Because after the Great General Council, it was decided that Satan would tutor Charles Darwin personally in setting up the principles of his theories of evolution. He was tutored by Lucifer himself, fallen Lucifer. And at that time, it was understood, Satan and his spirit counselors understood, that if a person was led to believe in the theory of evolution, it would, in his life, destroy completely the creation week of the Bible, the fall of man, and plan of redemption. It would do away with it.
In one fell swoop.
Yeah. Now, he made a unique statement.
Welcome,
He
Sister
said that
Lisa.
according to the spirits, anyone that teaches a theory of evolution is considered to be a minister of a great religious system. See, they call it the religious system, the theory of evolution, because it is a system of schooling people and getting them to disqualify themselves from being members of Christ's kingdom. And he said that every teacher of that theory is recognized by the spirits as a person of great value and receives a very special unction from Satan himself, giving great power to induce spiritual blindness, to convince and convert. 3 capacities are given to those teachers of the theory. Then, that's not all. The priest says that Satan considers the teachers of the theory of evolution to be so valuable to him that in the sight of all the inhabitants of the galaxies, he assigns a retinue of bright, beautiful angels to follow that educator all the remainder of his life. And that in the sight of the inhabitants of the galaxies is the greatest honor that he can bestow upon his workers, on mankind, to, until the controversy is finished. That was quite enlightening.
Now, the high priest was talking just sort of like a preacher would talk up front. Was he enthusiastic? Did he seem like he had bought into this and was excited about it?
Oh, yeah. He believed it 100%. No question
Yes,
about
I
it.
did.
Everything.
Big Niece says your name.
Why would he be so excited about spirits trying to deceive human beings? Because obviously, out of this council of the 1700s, deception was a major part of the strategy. Why?
Well, he says deception. It's like politics.
Much faith, Sister Estelle. Much faith.
You believe in one candidate, the other person believes in the other candidate, and they're fighting to get the position. And it's just a matter of who's going to be the smartest. And with Lucifer, the fallen cherubim, he's very smart. He's going to win, and Christ's going to abdicate the rights of the planet. He's going to resurrect his people, have established his kingdom that lasts for ever and ever. God won't be able to destroy him because it would be against God's, the Creator's nature to destroy Lucifer in the fire. Beside that, he said, spirits now, even spirits, have the capacity now to outlive fire. He says, you don't believe it, go to India or some of those countries where they have firewalkers. And it's done by the power of even spirits. These people are energized by even spirits, so they can walk on those hot coals without burning themselves.
And this is what the high priest said.
And he says, if you want to use fire, you can use it. It's not going to burn anybody. So that's the way they believe.
So this high priest was almost talking to your group in an evangelistic fervor.
Oh yeah, because he figures that he's going to be one of the higher ups in the great kingdom.
Okay. Now, of the group that was there that night, 60, 70 people, I think you've mentioned before.
Yeah, it varied.
How many of those were people who were hardcore members, and how many of them were new inductees?
Well, we were the only two youngsters there, so to speak.
You and your friend. And how old were you at that time, Roger?
I was about 20.
20 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you have a feeling of awe over the fact that you had been chosen?
Yes, in a way. And then I got thinking about this. When am I going to have to pay the price? The cost. My parents had brought me up like this. If you get involved with evil, you're going to reap what you sowed. So you want to be upright in life. And if you associate with evildoers, they'll probably land you in jail or somewhere else that you wouldn't want to be. So there's always a price to be paid.
So you had that little something maybe instilled by your mother and father a long time ago that kept you from making that full commitment.
Now, one of the things that really amazed me and shocked me and made me sick at heart is when the priests talk about Christian idolatry.
What is Christian idolatry? The priest mentioned that word.
Yeah.
Tell us what he said, Roger.
He said that Christian idolatry is the most grandiose or great deception that has ever been brought upon the human family, upon mankind. And he says, and he boasted, that demon spirits are continually defiling Christian churches through the avenue of necromancy by using a form of spirit worship that involves hundreds of millions of Christians into idolatry without their being aware of it.
Now, what is necromancy? Define necromancy for me.
Their belief, popular belief of necromancy, is to conjure the spirits of the dead.
So that you can speak with someone who has died.
Right.
Like the seance that you originally went to was the practice of necromancy.
Now, the priest says that the super deception is brought about in only one way. Through the deceptive belief that man has an immortal soul that lives on after death. And he said that constitutes idolatry through necromancy. So he says there are hundreds of millions of Christians that are practicing idolatry. Well, they think they're glorifying God. See?
Because they believe that the soul is immortal.
Yeah.
They may not be talking to the supposed spirits of the dead.
Okay. Contrary to popular belief, necromancy does not consist of conjuring the spirits of the dead. The reason being that man is totally mortal and does not possess an immortal soul. So, who are they talking to? He says, the friendly demon spirits that have always found over the centuries great delight in impersonating in apparitions departed loved ones and persons of great renown.
Now, friendly demon spirits.
Friendly demon spirits.
Are there more than one kind of demon spirits, Roger?
Well, there's three main divisions, and then there's divisions within those divisions.
Okay, what he's talking about is the dead know not a thing. So how can you talk to the dead? You can't talk to the dead. You're always talking to devils, portraying themselves as the dead. Or if you're having a dream and your great auntie is in the dream and it's definitely a Philippians 4:8 moment, good thoughts and whatnot, and perhaps a word from the Lord is delivered, then that is the Lord who will allow for you to see that image. He may allow for one of your angels to portray that image. But again, the devil does not create. He doesn't create anything. But he lies. He has tricked people into thinking that necromancy, because of necropolis and necro meaning the dead, is actually about, as if you can actually speak to the dead. In reality, you are talking to devils. And that's not something a lot of people have brought out. But this is, again, why I advise that folks would listen with their ears, not their eyes. And peace and blessings to anybody who have jumped in and I didn't get a chance to speak to. I did speak to you, Sister Tanti. I don't know if you heard me, but let's check it out. And yes, your loved one, the Father can allow for you to perceive that you have seen your loved one in a dream, in order to comfort you and help to bring you to a point of healing or a point of closure or acceptance. Excuse me. Acceptance, and to heal you from grieving. That's different than people attempting to talk to old Uncle Herman to try to figure out where he buried that money at in the house. That's bad business, because you will think that you're talking to old Uncle Herman if the devil wants you to, and he will be sure that you're talking to one of his agents, and he will lead you down a terrible path simply because of that. Because he has the right to do so if you engage in that.
You have the friendly demon spirits that seem to have the finesse and the refinement, and they're not upset about what happened when they were thrown out of heaven.
Good point, Captain.
Then you have the warriors. They like to bring misery and destruction in the lives of people. Then you have the oppressors. The oppressors are the real wicked spirits that hate God with all of their, the Creator with all of their might.
Amen.
So he went on explaining. He says, now, necromancy is in reality a belief, a religious belief. People believe that the dead have entered into a higher state of existence than they had when they were alive. Also, that they are in a position and have the capacity to help the living here on earth. See? Then he said, this is where things get really interesting. He said, according to the great master, a person does not have to supposedly call upon the spirits of the dead to receive help, you see, to be involved in necromancy. All he needs to do is to believe in life after death. Because he said, necromancy is the belief that man is human, as a human being, as an immortal soul. So anybody that believes that man has an immortal soul is involved in necromancy.
That was so deep. I want to leave you with that. That was really deep. That is really something to marinate upon. It's become culturally acceptable for folks to call upon the dead, or something that happened in the house. Is oh yeah, that ain't nothing but great grandma such and such up there creeping around upstairs, right? These things are not good, because she ain't up there creeping around upstairs, and it ain't Ron and his brothers Isley. So it's something that's not out to treat you nicely. Amen. So you test the spirit by the spirit. Keep your focus on the Holy Spirit, which is the comforter, and stay focused on your word to help to build your faith, to increase your answered prayers. Pay close attention to this is a man who had an experience that changed his life. That's what I see all in his countenance. Something scared the sugar honey iced tea out of him. Yes. And he'll never forget it. It's imprinted. But and yeah, I found a lot of things. Again, I just want you to hear this story. I just want to hear this story right here. Some of these good folks that, you look at Steve Coakley, and you look at a lot of folks that we can say we've learned something from. You could look at Gil Scott-Heron. Some folks might feel like they learned something from some of these modern day artists too, and you can draw the same conclusion with some of them. But after you step across the line, after you oppose the adversary, after you bite the hand that fed you, Dave Chappelle, excuse me, Cat Williams, you get woe out, and the people that you was fighting for quickly turn on you. And they quickly forget your attempt to fight the power on their behalf. And I just pray that we do better than that concerning it. When we see Cat with that owl on his chin, and I'm guilty of this, we can't forget how he tried to sneak little things out there for us. To where now so now they caught him trying to sneak us some food, and we're going to laugh at him. So Just keep that in mind. Folks get caught. Everybody's story don't end like mine. Folks get caught. Folks get offered deals that they can't refuse. Things happen in time. One of the saddest things that I saw, and I guess I'll say this now. I will say this one. When I watched current Dr. Bree Keaton videos, you wonder why I like old music. I understand what's missing today. When I watch old Dr. Bree, I get one thing, like what we got when we all watched the Prophecy Club together. And of course, I've seen this a number of times. I've watched this in its entirety at least 10 times. No exaggeration. But Dr. Bree, I loved her teaching so much. I had the book sent to me. I also went looking for other videos of hers. I was disappointed because what I perceived was as she got more notoriety in the deliverance ministry community, she started to, she looked like a different person. The woman that we saw, she was very modest. When I saw her on It's Supernatural with Sid Roth, she looked like she had the same hairdresser as one of my good cousins, the Clark sisters. And her nails was diddified, and she just looked, extra made up and not like the same modest woman. I didn't get the same power. I didn't feel the power. And, so what do you say after somebody has served in their service and blah, blah, blah? We hope that a person would go ahead and go hard all the way until they go to the graveyard. That's what we would hope. But that's not always what happens. When it does happen, how do we show our appreciation then, even? We had to really seek and try to find out what happened to Pastor Winworld, and it was Brother Minister V. Evans, who made the physical trip to the church and found out what happened concerning Winworld. He picked up a lot of materials and things too. Yeah, Brother Minister V. Evans. Y'all talk to V. He's been around here a long time. He's a veteran of Unplug 'em live streams. But anyway, yeah, from back in the day. So we're going to tie this one up. We're going to come back and do our readings. Prophecy Club is deceivers. Look at their address. Again, you can't make a statement like that. You just can't do that based strictly off of that. Prophecy Club, for you to say Prophecy Club are deceivers, I don't know everybody at Prophecy Club. You can say something about the company. You can say something about the ownership. I know I've learned more from different people on Prophecy Club than I have on anything else. And I will tell you that could just be to the grace of God, because TBN are devils. And when I was homeless, the first time I had an opportunity to have a television on a daily, guess what I was forced to watch? It wouldn't show nothing else. But that was a blessing. That blessed me. The Father used that to bless me. That don't change the fact that TBN is devilish. Now, Prophecy Club, I would be less likely to go for. And the main reason is, and again, I can't vouch for what they're doing now. Please listen to what I'm saying. Let's not be triggered. Digest the entire bit of information before you make a response. Prophecy Club, again, I can say the same thing about them. I don't know what they're doing nowadays, but I can tell you there was a period of time when they was dropping back-to-back Holy Spirit-inspired jewels that I could directly apply and use in practical application, in daily application of spiritual warfare. Now, that being said, it's all, listen, you can look at anything. Do you know name of the street I stay on? Do you know my address? So again, but what do you have to go by? You have to go by my material. You have to go by my spirit. Let's give all of the men and women who step out here in a world that will certainly not exalt you for speaking for the Lord and against the devil, let's not be so quick to condemn them based on flimsy charges. Let's condemn them based on what comes out of their mouth. It's not what goes into the mouth of a man that defiles him, but what comes out. I've been doing this a long time. I wouldn't show people stuff that's tainted. So when I show you something, that's why I give you the disclaimer. And I let it be known. I said, now I cannot vouch for everything this individual says. I cannot vouch for other videos of them. I said I can only endorse one channel with force, and that's Days of Noah. And then, and that's just, that's just as far as what you might be familiar with. And Tupac Hoax channel, Tupac Hoax Exposed, okay? And you may not be familiar with Logic and Reason, but I endorse their channel as well. Logic and Reason, endorsed as well. But that's it. I don't know this man. I can't vouch for this man. But I'm doing what we all have to do when we're given a story. You have to be able to operate in the world, but not of the world, and have the discernment to test the spirits of things. Beyond the numbers, beyond the hand signals, beyond the names. These things can give you clues when you have nothing else to draw upon. Overstood? Overstood? What's overstood should not need to be explained. And I appreciate you all. And now, if you are able, and you've not done so, as we bring this one to a close, please do hit the like button. That's a thumbs up. And I appreciate it. And yeah, that's it. So we've got 90 folks watching, 70 folks gave a thumbs up, and I appreciate all of you who did and who could, and I thank those of you who are about to. And so now we're going to go into our readings. The first of which will be he came to set the captives free, and I'm going to read two of He Came to Set the Captives Free, and I'm going to read the balance of After the Dance, which is over. After the dance is over. And thank you and bless you, Brother Carpe Diem. Seize the day. I've got a phone conversation for you from you from like 2014, I believe it is, saved on my hard drive, on my external hard drive somewhere. And I've been saying I was going to revitalize it because it was really a good conversation. But you've come a long way. And I praise God and I thank God for you. Glad to see you still here. Yep, he's an old schooler. Yep, he's an old schooler. Okay, so let's go out like we like to do. And I don't think you was here when I said it on the air, but Sister Minister Imani, I thank you for your service, and I thank you for your sharing of your testimony. And I just want to encourage you to continue in service. The way you described that is exactly how it's supposed to go when you've been enrolled. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. But you've been recruited. You've been drafted. Yep. Welcome to Paris Island. Because we go hard like Marines. All right, let's do this here and get on out of here. Oh, that went all right. Gonna get my pay. All right, reading.
For at the window of my house I looked through my casement, and beheld among the simple ones, I discerned among the youth, a man void of understanding.
Yeah. Very rare. Going back for the reading.